Welcome to our BAAH at Home community. On behalf of the entire BAAH at Home team, we are delighted to have you here. I'm Marlene Peterson, the founder of Libraries of Hope and the finder of the Well-Educated Heart philosophy of learning, which is all woven into this platform. We're going to be spending some time together, so I wanted to introduce myself. This is my family. Well, at least some of them. This picture was taken a few years ago. It's getting harder to get all 36 of us together at one time. We've added 7 grandchildren since this picture and another son-in-law. My husband and I have 9 children. He always teases and says all of them are boys, except for 8 of them. I love my family. Sometimes they call me Mama Lena. You can call me that too if you want. Some of you may recognize my voice because I told your moms that if their voices get tired sometimes, they can send you over to Grandma's house and I would read to you. I love reading stories to my grandkids, so I recorded a lot of stories you can listen to too. I hope you have been curious as to what is going to happen here. I will tell you it will probably be different in many ways than things you have done before. The first week is like a back-to-school week where you'll get to meet your teachers and they'll talk about things that you're going to get to learn about and do this year. So do take the time to watch the teacher orientation videos. And then each week, we will unlock a new lesson for each class. You will get to choose which classes you want to be part of and when you want to do them. You're in charge of you. Each class will stay open for 4 weeks, and then it will be taken down. Some of you older kids may look at some of these classes and say, they're for little kids. It's true that little kids will enjoy them, but I encourage you to let yourself be a kid again. The Bible teaches us to be as a little child to enter into the kingdom of heaven. If you look up the word heaven in the dictionary, one of its meanings is deep happiness. Not the kind of temporary pleasure happiness like eating a chocolate chip cookie or playing a video game, but the long-lasting kind of happiness you carry with you in your heart. So do open your mouth and sing the songs, engage in the drawing lessons, let yourself tell stories, dance, create. If you will let yourself take part, you'll find that there are things deep inside of you that will start to open up, and you'll be happier. Don't forget to visit the Storytellers Corner, where a wonderful group of storytellers are retelling the stories from the forgotten classics. As we begin a new round of study, it can be fun to have some traditions like taking first day of school pictures. Visit our Celebration Corner and see if there are some ideas in there that you'd like to do with your family or friends to celebrate this new year of learning. And be sure to take and share some pictures of your classroom. You aren't limited to a desk and chairs here. The whole world is your classroom. So it might be a picture of you playing in the park or exploring a pond. Also, as part of this orientation celebration week, there are 4 orientation videos from me. This is the first one. I'll be explaining a lot of important things you will want to know. Today, I have Helen Keller on my mind. Do you know her story? She was blind and deaf. Close your eyes for a minute. Can you imagine never seeing anything? I would tell you to cover your ears, but then you couldn't hear what I'm going to say next. You can open your eyes. One day, Helen was visiting a dear friend who had just taken a walk in the forest. She asked her what she had seen, and the friend replied, "Oh, nothing in particular." How was that possible, Helen asked herself, to walk through the woods and see nothing worthy of note? I, who cannot see, find hundreds of things to interest me through mere touch. At times my heart cries out with longing to see all these things. If I can get so much pleasure from mere touch, how much more beauty must be revealed by sight. Yet those who have eyes apparently see little. You may think that we are offering you classes to help you learn how to draw better, or to give you some nice songs to sing or music to listen to. Those things will happen, but something much more important is going to happen. These activities are going to open up your eyes and your ears so that you will begin to see and hear things that were always there, but you just didn't know it. John Muir Laws, a world-famous nature journalist who, by the way, has severe dyslexia, which means reading and writing are super hard for him, invites us to fall in love with our world by learning to pay attention. He says that by slowing down and looking long enough to draw what we are seeing, mysteries will unfold before us. He says, I draw to see. And that is exactly what we are going to try and do here. Learn to slow down and pay attention. And we're going to do that by drawing and creating and singing and dancing and listening to music and listening to and telling stories, for starters. Louis Agassiz was a famous scientist who taught at Harvard. Do you know one way he taught his science class? He would put a fish in front of each of his students and then tell them to look at the fish and write down all that they noticed. In other words, he was telling them to pay attention. After an hour or so of writing down their observations, some thought they had discovered everything there was to discover. But the next day he would bring the fish back again and tell them to keep looking. And the next day, and the next. Sometimes that fish lesson would stretch out into weeks. He didn't stand in front of their class and explain everything to them and lecture them. He let them ask their own questions and discover their own answers. And he was known as one of the finest teachers and scientists that ever lived. One story of his life that I read said that he never knew a dull hour in his life and thought it an incredible joke that any person could kill time in a world so full of interest. In a letter to his brother, he wrote, "Write me about what you were reading and about your plans and projects, for I can hardly believe that anyone can live without forming them. I, at least, could not." One time, Agassiz's friends wanted to send him on a vacation to Europe. He politely turned them down. He said, "How can I travel clear to Europe when there are still so many things in my own backyard I haven't learned about yet?" And so he spent the next 9 months happily exploring his own backyard. A famous poet, Robert Louis Stevenson, wrote, "The whole world is so full of a number of things, I'm sure we should all be as happy as kings." As we spend time here together in our BAAH at Home community, I hope you will feel your eyes and ears opening up, and that you will find yourself as happy as kings, exploring and discovering the wonders of our beautiful world. Now, there is one more especially important thing I want to tell you about me. This may sound really weird, but many of my very best friends are dead. They died before I was even born. I'll tell you more about that in a couple of days. One of my dear friends is a man who died over 100 years ago. His name was James Russell Miller, and he was a very loving and happy man. I've learned a lot from him. He used to tell people, "Jesus and I are friends." Sometimes people ask me where I learned all the things that I'm sharing with your parents through the Well-Educated Heart and things I will share with you. I will tell you, everything I share, I learned from the example and teachings of Jesus. Jesus and I are friends. Now, I would hardly be a good friend after all he has given me and taught me to tell him that he isn't welcome here or that he will have to wait outside. No, he is a very much welcomed and invited guest here in our community. The interesting thing is, the more I have listened to his voice, the more I find it everywhere. I find it in ancient Persian fairy tales and masterpieces of great art. I hear it in beautiful music and words of poets and writers of great literature. I feel closest to him when I spend time in God's creations, the trees, the flowers, the waters. When he was on the earth, he loved teaching on the beautiful seashore of Galilee and on the hillside among the wildflowers. People loved to be near him because he loved them. Open your eyes and ears, and you will feel wrapped in love no matter where you go. And love is the most wonderful feeling of all. Tomorrow I will be back to describe pasture learning to you. Bye-bye for now.